Hello and welcome back to the show. I am, of course, your host, John, Rick, Todd, Bob, whatever you want to call me. And, of course, we are back with the show, talking, of course, again, with the greatest players and coaches of your NCAA College Hoops 2K franchise. So we have another guest as promised, and he's quite an interesting character. We've had a couple interesting characters already. We found ourselves another one. So this guy was a freshman last year, played at Kansas State. He scored over 70 points in the game against Robert Morris out of absolutely nowhere. This kid kind of, blossomed out of the blue. He's since became a very good player, has become a freshman All-American, and now he's on the rise to yet again bring Kansas State to another NCAA tournament. Please help myself in welcoming our next guest, Devin, my dad, the Pastor Henderson. Devin, how you doing?
Oh, hello. Hi.
And hello to yourself, my dad, the pastor. Welcome to the show.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not much of a talker.
Oh, well, that's fine, Mr. Devin. I'll do most of the talking for you. I mean, this is a talk show, of course, but I mainly brought you on because you're just such a unique talent. And when I say unique, I mean you kind of just came out of nowhere last season. You were really just another guy on the squad, and you just had a breakout game, and ever since, just been on a hot tear. Kind of explain to me your process and, how you kind of came from this point, this underdog story.
Well, I'm sure, as you know, my dad is in fact a pastor, and he prays for me every time I take a shot. And so when he doesn't pray for me when I take a shot, usually it air balls and it doesn't go in. So when you do see the ball go in the hoop, that's not me. That's my dad, the pastor, praying for me to get that ball in that hoop.
Oh, yes, and of course, we all know your dad is a pastor, Devin. I mean, I wanted to ask you too. What was the motivation of renaming yourself my dad, the pastor? Because it's kind of odd that somebody with just a traditional first name like Devin would just go ahead and just take that completely off their birth certificate and just go by my dad, the pastor Henderson. I mean,
Yeah,
I've heard,
yeah.
of course, of Chad Johnson, Chad Ocho Cinco, but why my dad, the pastor? That's just really interesting to me, and I've never seen something quite like it in the history of sports or in the history of anything, celebrity and in total. Kind of explain that to me. Why did you make that decision?
Well, like you said, John, Bob, Rick, something else. I forgot what you said.
Oh, that's all right. Nobody remembers. Heck, I don't remember.
I didn't really have an identity of my own. I didn't really stick out. So when I started making those big shots, and people really want to know my story, I just kind of blended in with a normal name. So by letting people know my dad is in fact a pastor, that allowed me to create more of an identity for myself. And now the basketball gods have granted me with better attributes, and it has really helped me rise in the national ranks.
Now, my dad, the pastor, when you say basketball gods, that kind of struck me off as surprising, coming from such a Christian valued man like yourself. Given that your dad is in fact a pastor, I mean, wouldn't you say it's a little pagan to say that there are in fact basketball gods that grant these NCAA college players with better attributes if they show out in games?
Oh, well, there are in fact basketball gods. They control the games. I'm for certain of this. I certainly am. They did come to me, and said that if I were to have a big game, that they would increase my 3-point shot by a substantial amount of attributes, so I did do good on their promise, and I scored all those points against Robert Morris, and was the second I did that, I was just hotter than a pistol, man, and I just just started making it rain all season long.
My dad, the pastor, you can't be seriously implying that there's actually basketball gods that control the universe of NCAA college hoops that made you a better player. I mean, surely it had to be your faith and your passion for the game and your hard work ethic. I mean, am I wrong when I say that? And also, my dad, the pastor, what are these you're saying as attributes? What are these attributes increases that you are speaking of? Can you elaborate that a little bit as well?
Well, my faith in my father, praying for every 3 point shot that I put up, it has definitely contributed to my game. But equally as much as when the NC College 2K gods edited me as a player and increased my attributes. What happens is a certain amount of attributes are applied to each player in the country, some high, some low, some in between. Mine were relatively in that medium spot for the most part. My 3 point shot, very surprisingly, was only a 68 overall for attributes. When the guys saw that I scored all those points, they just thought it was ridiculous that it was so low for a 3 point shot. I mean, how could a man possibly make so many threes and have such a low attribute for a 3 point shot? It was quite ridiculous according to these gods. And when they saw that, they just had to make it at least a 90. At least a 90. They knew I was a freshman. It was just going to get better too as I progressed in my yearly progressions as I went on through the national ranks.
Oh, whoa, my dad. I mean, listen, you gotta slow down a little bit for me here. I mean, you're suggesting that these basketball guys control every realm of our existence and can control whether or not we perform better as athletes based off of this attribute system that you speak of. It just seems a little crazy to me. I'm sorry if I'm somebody that might sound like I'm guessing what you're believing. I mean, I don't know what you believe in, but this just seems a little far fetched. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely not. It's absolutely not crazy and it's not far fetched. The basketball gods have blessed me with their prowess, and I have been eternally grateful for becoming a better shooter because of their presence. Ever since that game, my life has changed forever. I went from I think a 67 overall, if not even lower, to possible or low 90 overall as a freshman alone. And just to think, if I keep progressing this way, I could be a 95 or if not better by the end of my senior year. And I could be playing the NBA.
Okay. You got to slow down a little bit there, my dad, the pasture. So you're saying that now you're saying these ratings. What do you mean about these ratings? You're saying you're a 67, 68 overall. Now you're a 90 overall. What exactly does all that mean? Is this like some sort of a rating system that you yourself came up with?
Me, a mere mortal man. I couldn't even process such a thing. No, no, no. It's the gods. It's the gods, and they are the ones that created all this college 2K hoops franchise. And by doing so, there's a rating system that puts better players ahead of worser players. I was one of the worser players, and the gods came to me one night and they granted me with better attributes.
Okay, so in essence, my dad, the pastor, you're saying that you weren't one of the top echelon players of the country at one point, like you are now, of course, as we know earlier in your college career. And one thing, something just clicked. You had a big game. After the big game, these so-called basketball gods came to your house, granted you with better attributes, and then you just became a better player. Yes, but of course it was at a cost. They told me I had
had to re-change my first name to my dad the pastor because during that game when I scored a lot of points, I let the opponents know that my dad is in fact a pastor, and because he is in fact a pastor, my 3-point shots when I'm open enough automatically have to go in 98% of the time. And if that's not the case, then I'm probably getting cheated by the basketball gods, and that's just something that doesn't rub me the right way. Oh, well, I would have to agree with that. I mean, when your shot doesn't go in, the crowd is in awe, my dad, the pastor. I mean, your shot is just so soaking wet. I mean, I've never seen such a rotation of the ball ever in my life from three. So, yes, I would have to agree with you on that. When your shot doesn't go in, I think you are getting cheated by these so-called basketball gods. So what I would also want to ask you is, why exactly do you have to let the opponent know that your dad is in fact a pastor every time the ball does go in? I mean, wouldn't you, a religious man yourself, say that it is quite a bit of taunting on your end? Well, this is a part that I would choose not to elaborate on too much if you don't mind. Sure. Is there any reason why you don't want to go forward with that question? Because they're watching me. Who's watching you, my dad, the pastor? Well, the basketball gods. Well, like you said, I'm not a man who taunts. I do consider myself of high character because my dad, the pastor, did instill these values in me. But they made a promise with me that every time I shoot the basketball, I have to say my dad is in fact a pastor in order for the ball to go in. And if I don't say it, they tell me that the ball will in fact not go in. So whenever I play, it's not my choice. And I hope they're not watching. Listen, my dad, I think you're just getting a little carried away with this little gods thing. I certainly haven't seen any proof of these basketball guys myself. I mean, I'm just a talk show host on this show. So I mean, who am I to say? I mean, anybody's god is this or that. But I mean, I don't think that it's to the point where if you don't say the ball won't go in. I think you're. Personally, I think you're a very talented human being. You've always been. I mean, you made it to the highest level of college basketball, give or take how good you are at that sport. I think, making it to that level is quite an accomplishment in itself. Now, what you have accomplished afterward has been truly remarkable. But listen, my dad, the pastor, I think you're a very good talent, and I think you should just trust yourself a little bit more and supersede this superstition that you got of yourself that you have to, say these outlandish things in order for you to succeed on the court, because I don't think you need it. Oh, well, that's just so very kind of a man of your stature to say something of just such high spirits about a man like myself, and I will surely take your advice and just believe in my shot a little bit more without having to screech my dad is in fact a pastor to my opposing basketball players when I'm on the court. But I do want to let you know that I have in fact talked to these basketball gods, and they are true at least to me. And I'm going to continue to seek them out for guidance, and of course with my dad being a pastor, having him help being on my side has been a tremendous contributor to the player that I am as well. So I just hope to continue this success in college basketball, and hopefully it turns out all good for me. With that, I bid you farewell, and I just hope that the basketball gods are generous enough to continue to bless you with this magnificent broadcasting talent that they have seemed to bestow upon you. Oh, hail the great basketball gods. May you continue to increase my attributes all around my game, not just my 3-point shooting, but to give me a little bit more of a speed and acceleration boost, and maybe some better rebounding for my position. Oh, hail the basketball gods. May them give appropriate attributes for those who are indeed worthy of the increase. Well then,
Well, I can't say that my worldview has not been construed a little bit by this interview. I definitely have a different perspective on my existence within this 2K franchise after such a conversation. Definitely, thanks for coming on here, my dad, the pastor. Definitely another magnificent interview. When we return next week, I will be interviewing another player. I do want to get around to getting to one of these coaches, and, getting in their head a little bit. Finding out, maybe a little bit about maybe Coach Giddings or maybe Esparza or whoever else wants to come on. But until that time comes, I bid you all farewell and you have a great rest of your day. Take care.